We all float down here. Hey, what's up, YouTubers and Cinephiles? Welcome back to another edition of Nerd with me, John Ricky. And today I'm going to talk about a remake of a horror classic that was actually made for TV, and everyone forgets about that who have seen the original. It's a little movie based off of Stephen King novel, probably the Stephen King novel, called simply It. I'll tell you this, man, 2017 seems to be a resurgence in Stephen King's fandom, you know? I mean, they're really trying to bring all the classics back for a new generation, it seems. I mean, there's this new iteration of It, which a lot of people don't know is a remake. If you're a millennial, you probably don't know that, but everyone else who does, you know, it's like, hey, it's a remake. Just what? A few weeks ago, we had the Dark Tower. Oh boy. The less I say about that, the better. Even though I didn't even bother seeing it, but I knew as soon as I saw the runtime of that movie. 95 minutes for the Dark Tower series that like basically molds all of the Stephen King verse, holds it all together, and that movie is 95 minutes long. But you know, that's for another video. So, the basic story of It. The story is, in the fictional town of Derry, Maine, 7 friends are being hunted by this monster that takes the disguise of a clown named Pennywise, who can also become their greatest fears, hunting mainly children by exploiting their fears, and they decide to do battle with it. That's the main story of It. I'll tell you, when I first heard that they were going to remake It, I was like, really? Do they really need to? I don't know. But you know what? That's the usual mindset I always have whenever they talk about remaking something from like the 80s, 70s, what have you. Just remaking anything. But I started thinking about it. And then I started thinking about the fact that the original It, and I don't think many people really remember the fact that this was a 2-part miniseries that came on like ABC in 1990. Like, that's what it originally was. So putting that in perspective, and the fact that I watched it recently, actually I was watching it just tonight just to like compare or whatnot, and you can tell it's dated. I mean, it is really dated, especially for the fact that it came out on national television in the 90s, for crying out loud. And that's where a lot of Stephen King adaptations usually go, is to ABC or NBC or CBS for whatever reason, when really it should have, like, all of his adaptations should have been on HBO or Showtime or Cinemax or something like that. Something where you don't have the MPA breathing down your neck and you gotta make it as PG as possible. With that being said, this movie really benefits from a theatrical release, because all the stuff that you saw in the original, it is just tenfold more terrifying than how you remember it. I mean, especially with the budget constraints that they had with the television series and the time that they took to film this film, like, it just really helps out. Being that it's very dated and everything else, one thing you can say about the original is the fact that Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise / It, the clown, was just completely memorable, and he creeped everyone out who's seen it. Wow. So, on that note, let's get to the new version, which stars basically unknowns as the little kids. And this is actually the whole movie. It's a 2-hour and 15-minute movie. The whole movie is based on the kids. You don't see the adults. And they clarified that they're going to bring part 2 if this is successful, which I don't see how it's not going to be successful. It's pretty damn good. But we'll get to that later. So, the predecessor, or rather, the man that has the biggest hurdle, is actually the better known actor out of this whole cast of really no names. You know, the kids, they may have like a handful of credits. The one kid that plays Bill is from, I believe, Midnight Special as obviously the special kid in there. Finn Wolfhard, who plays Richie Tozer, who is phenomenal in this film. We all know him as Mike from Stranger Things. He is incredible and just completely polar opposite of his character on Stranger Things. Like I said, the biggest hurdle is who plays Pennywise, and that's Bill Skarsgård. He's the younger brother of Alexander Skarsgård, aka Eric from True Blood, and Gustav Skarsgård, who's Floki, like one of the best characters on television right now on the show Vikings. Incredible. And of course their father is Stellan Skarsgård. You know him if you've seen him. He was in like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, many others. But anyway, he had the task of following up Tim Curry. Man, he made Pennywise his own. He is terrifying and creepy and just all out vicious. And that's all thanks to the CGI and the fact that they had the reins. They had the whole field of R rating, and they took that to full advantage, man. And it really made Pennywise even creepier and just more vicious, which is how a Stephen King adaptation should be. All these years we've been seeing Stephen King stuff come to nationally televised television, when really he should have been, all of his adaptations should have been on HBO, where everything cut loose. And that's this movie's bread and butter, man. It's just, I mean, these kids in particular, like the characters of the Losers Club, they're all 12, 13 years old. And if you remember back when you were there, you like first discovered like swearing and everything like that. So you're cussing up a storm with your buddies and everything like that. You don't talk like that around your parents. And they take that to full advantage. Just like, wow, okay, you've been there, you can commiserate basically. You're like, all right, I was like that at that age. Or if you're at that age right now, you're like, yeah, that's how we talk, yeah. And that's one of the big hallmarks of this film, is the fact that the characters that we are introduced to, they all seem very real and they are acted well enough. Particularly the little girl that plays Beverly, I think her name is Sophia Ellis. Man, she has probably the most dramatic scenes in the whole film. She kills it, man. Like, you feel for her. It's crazy, yeah. Not to mention, she straight up looks like she's the daughter of Amy Adams. Swear to God, she looks exactly like her, spitting image. Now, this film really takes like a lot of cliches, but you know what? You expect it, because it's an old book. I mean, it's been out for 30 plus years. You're going to come up with little cliches, but they made it fresh the way they like subvert certain things. The delivery is so creepy, and the atmosphere and the cinematography is just incredible. I mean, it's beautifully made, and the effects really pump up the supernatural element of Pennywise the Clown, which made him even creepier. And it was just enough of practical and CG that it's not like, oh my god, that's so CG, and you're kind of like laughing at it a little bit. You're more laughing out of fear rather than out of like, you know, just like, oh my god, that looks hilarious. And you know what the great thing about Stephen King stories are, is that Stephen King writes dramas with supernatural elements in it for the most of his career. You really think about it, it's all about the characters. The first half of this movie is all about character development. It's all interesting. Even one of the main bully characters, Henry Bowers, you actually kind of feel bad for him a little bit to an extent, but he's still a jag-off. But that's the strength of this, is the fact that you got these amazing kid actors playing these very endearing characters, and they are pulling it off the best of their abilities. Now, I will say this, they ain't like Chloe Moretz good or Dakota Fanning when she was like very young, like great, you know, but they are really good in their roles and they get it done. And the way they showcase how everyone has their own fears, and it really isolates them, and all about camaraderie. You really get the themes that are prevalent throughout the book, throughout the story, and it is just put on display in bright shining lights, and it's great. And it's actually pretty funny, particularly with Richie Tozer, aka Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. He provides a lot of comedy, and it actually works in so many ways, because I actually found myself laughing whenever he makes a really bad joke, and it's like, you know what, that's how kids talk. Of course he's gonna be saying stuff like that, and it's not gonna hit all the time, but I think that's the point. Also, love the fact that it takes place in the 80s. I'm like, oh my god. It's a whole bunch of Easter eggs for me, because I'm like, oh my god, there's Lethal Weapon at the theater. There's this. There's, dudes wearing the Anthrax, the rock band shirt, and everything like that. A whole bunch of great goodness, and that's what it needed. It needed that update, because if they would have taken it back to the 50s, it would have been like really out of place, to be honest. And they worked that for the better. And not to mention that the end, it is really, really good. They've changed a few things, but they changed it for the better. I mean, a lot of stuff that seemed very cheesy in the television miniseries, like they changed it, and it really works in this update. It's very creepy, very emotional, especially around the end, where it's like, man, it really just comes together. Everything from the bullies to their personal experiences, it all clicks together and comes through. But I will say this, there is a few times where the tone shifts are a little bit too jarring, because at one minute you're being scared, this freaking out, and then all of a sudden the next scene, oh, there's like a few jokes and everything like that, and it's like, that's a little jarring, but it's not really that big of a deal, because I'm still having fun watching this movie, and you will too. So anyway, the remake of It 2017 gets a great big
I'll be back.
Yes, I will be back, and I can't wait for part 2 when they show them as adults. I hope that comes out within the next few years. And I'll tell you, guys, go see this. Anyway, if you've seen the movie, like, subscribe, please comment below. Let me know what you thought about it, and let's discuss this, guys. Let's get It Part 2 to come out, hopefully by 2019. But anyway, you guys check it out. Take care, Cinephiles and YouTubers.